Okay, so it looks like we are live here. I'm just going to check my settings. Not much to configure there, I guess, so we'll presume that we are live. Okay, so let's have a look here and see how the stream is doing. Do a little work here. So it looks like there's about 15 seconds of latency between when I talk and when the stream hits YouTube. That's about normal. And that's actually a low latency stream, so alrighty. So see if we can't get some people to come over and have a look at what's going on. Oh, this stuff doesn't even want to stick to the... Oh, wild. Doesn't want to stick to the board this morning. Alrighty. Okay, so I got a little bit of work to do here to catch up on things. Would help if I got a link. I can turn this into a actual URL here, HTTPS. There we go. Crazy how the damp morning air out here on the deck is keeping my pieces of tape from sticking down onto the drafting board. Doesn't feel damp, but you can see, look at that, the tape just won't even stick. Crazy. All right. We're going to go for the standard issue stuff. If any of you are just able, maybe you could comment on Discord if the quality seems to be good. I guess I could just stop the stream and have a look. I'll do a little bit of drafting first before I go there. Okay, so let's get the drafting tools out here. So, got a bit of line work to do. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so next. Okay, that's good. Thanks, Scott. That's good. Yeah, you can just use the well, I stream from BCIT to YouTube. Actually, I don't even stream. I do screen recordings on I use Zoom, record the video, and then just upload it to YouTube. But the live camera feed sucks so bad with Zoom, as we saw yesterday. That was just absolutely terrible that I don't even want to bother with it. It's such a disaster. So we'll just live stream instead. Then you guys can comment on Discord when you have questions, because I'm not going to be able to hear you back, and I'm not going to be able to hear your. Well, maybe I could. I guess I could. I'll hop into the lecture channel. Who knows? Maybe I can talk to both places at once. But the audio is going to be out of sync by about 10 to 15 seconds. So I am in the lecture channel, but you might want to mute the audio on YouTube, because the audio on YouTube will be about 10 to 15 seconds behind. So just mute that audio and we'll go from there. I certainly can, sir. Well, no, you mute, mute YouTube. So just use YouTube for the visual, and then, yeah, yeah, right. Because now, but like I said, it is going to be about, yeah, yeah, yeah. And the cool thing is that um, on YouTube, it's going to be recording my audio, but probably not audio from folks when they ask questions. So if somebody asks a question of some consequence, then I'll have to. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's better than nothing. Oh, so all the stuff up. Yeah, yeah, no, because it's actually I can shoot 1080. Yeah, and I don't know what in the world we've been looking at up till now. It's been just no, it was ugly. It was really ugly. I yeah, well, I honestly I'd been avoiding the YouTube because of the delay. But whatever, got to do what you got to do. I did. Yeah, I used to stream live to YouTube for my well, especially on bad weather days when BCIT was closed down, and so I'd be teaching using the live stream because they didn't have Zoom at the time. So yeah, good, 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 good. Okay, well that's fine. So I'm actually just going to carry on getting my plan drawing up to snuff, and then we'll get started right at 9. Oh, well, if you can scan it, great. But if not, a picture will suffice with your answers on it. That's really the main thing. You can do that. Yeah, as long as I can see your answer, I can mark it. Okay, for those of you who are wondering how deep to make the closet, if you're looking in the future, it's 2 foot clear depth. That's your standard closet. And then you can see I'm adding the ticks there for the 3-inch wide walls, and what does it say? 3 foot by 2 foot clear closet. So clear means clear dimension on the inside. So okay, so I am going to just lay out these lines here. Just using construction lines here. Now that you folks will actually really be able to see them on the video feed. These are actually probably going to be a little bit too dark to even use as construction lines now. They probably still wouldn't have been picked up by a blueprinter back in the day, but I would still prefer to use an even lighter set of lines for doing the construction lines. So I'll just be really faint with my... There we go. So there's my construction line. So I'm going to do a... so it says to use a 24-inch door. So I'll just measure where I want this thing. So I'm 3'6". So maybe what I'll do is I'll just put a little 3-inch return on at the edge of the door where it's going to swing. And then I'm going to measure where I want my door opening. So there's 2 feet. And then I'm going to measure the length of the swing that I want. So I'm just carefully again checking and making sure I'm at 1/4 inch to a foot. And there's my 2-inch mark. So I'm kind of ready to start drawing up this door in earnest. So I'm switching pencils here. I'm going back to the mechanical pencil. And now I'm going to send it. And evidently, yeah, I'm committing. Yeah. Yes, inside dimensions. Yep. I have to be careful now because like people could be landing or listening to whatever random shit I might be saying. Yeah, I actually have to, just thinking of Cumberland again, I have to really, you know, that community has really... When I lived over on the island about 15 years ago, I lived in Courtenay and Comox, and Cumberland was in a really bad state. You know, their economy, they just didn't have anything happening there, and it was a bit of a slum in the Comox Valley. And, you know, you look at what they've done to bring in the bodies. When we were there, I mean, it was just wall-to-wall bikes and coffee shops, and they've got an awesome bike shop there in their I can't remember what the building was. It was a fairly significant building in Cumberland's history, and they're one of their bike shops is in there, and it's got that old wood smell, and just the environment is so cool. Well, the other thing too is it's kind of a good template for municipalities to use who want to grow their tourism budget by building trails. It's like Squamish has done it, Cumberland's done it. We've been trying to kick the FVRD's butt, so the Fraser Valley Regional District. They've got some places which would be ideal for trails. Some of our crews have gone and scoped out the hills. I mean, we look at contour lines on maps and we kind of go, oh man, that would make some really great trail areas. So then we go there and we stomp around, and then we do a proposal to the local municipality and say, hey, would you guys be cool with us putting some trails in these areas? We'll maintain them, you know, but if you wouldn't mind throwing us some funding for maybe to get some heavy equipment up there to build a climb trail for us, and try and get some buy-in from the local municipality so they can kind of feel like they got behind it and it was their thing. And the FRD, they did a big economic outdoor activity economic study, and last year they said, oh, well, we only got 2% from mountain biking. We're like, yeah, you numpties, because you haven't put a cent into the trails. So if you look at Squamish, they get millions every year from mountain bike tourism. So, but they put millions into it over the years. So if you don't put anything into it, you don't get anything out of it. No, no, way after I was gone, way gone. So, it, yeah, I would say 5 years, I guess. And I don't know who put in all the effort. I'd be kind of curious to know. Was that completely locals who sweated? Because I mean, good grief, they have got a phenomenal trail network, and I can't even think of how many man hours have gone into putting this thing together. But yes, yeah, exactly. That's a good question. I don't know if they started off with a trail layout plan of some kind, like on a map, and then kind of rolled out that plan. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. When we do a trail plan, so all of our trail crew up here, we've taken courses with the International Mountain Bike Association, who have a series of guidelines for trail construction, particularly with an eye towards sustainability. And by that I mean trails that when you build them, they're not going to wash out in a single winter of rain. And so sustainable means they need as little maintenance as possible, and then they're also going to be trails that people are going to want to ride because they're designed well, and you've chosen a good route for the trail, so you don't have 20% grades on your uphills. Yeah, Total Sanity, that's a great trail. Yeah. Yeah, that Total Sanity trail is it's kind of a great example of how to build a climb trail. And I live in Chilliwack, so our climb trails are all like 15% plus, like lung busters, right? So like somehow Sunnyside has been categorized as a green trail, which it is for width, but it's actually a blue trail as far as IMBA would be concerned because of the sustained grades. But what are you going to do, right? I mean, it's like you've only got so much, so many bodies to build trail, and if you have to build a 10% grade, and you've got to go up 200 meters, well, that means you got to build a 2 kilometer long trail, right? So it's a lot of work to make that stuff work. And they don't let you take a machine up on the hill. So, yeah, if they'd let us take a climbing, or like take a small excavator and do the business, that would make a huge difference, because then we could have machine built climb trails, and that would be spectacular. Uh, well, mostly two reasons. The first one is that there's always archaeological concerns, um, and I appreciate that. I'm less appreciative of archaeological assessments, or the need for one, when it's second growth areas. So most of Vetter, in fact all of Vetter, there's not a single tree that's less than or more than 100 years old, right? They've all been logged. And so that logging process, old school logging process, was like completely nuke the land and disturb the soil for probably the first 12 to 18 inches. So if there was any First Nations archaeological content there, I mean, it's gone. It's been trashed with either heavy equipment or the skidding process when they pulled the logs down the mountain or what have you. So for me, there's nothing left on Vetter. It's if there's history there, it's gone. In other areas, especially up in the Alpine, um, I can see that being a problem. In terms of having a machine up there potentially, um, going over either human remains potentially or other archaeological artifacts from um, historical First Nations activity. So, and the other thing is that rec sites doesn't want to. They're concerned about forest fire hazards and all the other stuff, and if they start letting, you know, trail associations build climb trails all over the place, that's a more significant disturbance of the forests. And usually our trails are on provincial land where there's going to be working forests there, so these are all going to be, they may be logged again in the future or whatever. And so even a climb trail, not like Total Sanity, I mean, a hand-built trail like Total Sanity, there's no issue there at all ecologically, but with a machine climb trail, you are looking at a more significant impact. So you were involved in the electrical trade. Is that what I'm understanding from your bio? So, no, you go ahead. Yeah. Yep. So what attracts you to the world of architecture? Yeah, it's actually it's an ideal process. I didn't always like design build in terms of a procurement process because um, in design build, usually what everybody's really most interested in is the price. Yeah. So we've had a few projects here in Chilliwack that have been delivered by design build because the building operator wanted basically just a rock bottom dollar, and they wanted to know what that dollar was going to be sooner rather than later. They'd used it for doing some road work, and for road work it doesn't matter. Like if you want to do design build for road work, have at it. Like nobody cares what your pavement looks like. Um, if you design build and you're just asking for a price, um, you could get a pretty mundane looking building, and that's happened on more than one occasion around here where we've got a pretty Spartan looking building that dropped out of the process because once you signed on with your contractor, your contractor is kind of driving the bus with how the building gets designed, and then if the client's like, oh well, you know that's an ugly building, and everybody goes, yeah, but the price is right, isn't it? So, but on a residential level, design build is actually ideal because um, you're designing it with an eye to how it is going to get built, and you care more about on-site conditions. So Yes, it is. Well, for you folks who live in the Gulf Islands, you've got this you got the Islands Trust to deal with, and they can be a pretty difficult group to try and get anything done. They can be quite what is it? I guess recalcitrant is the word I'm thinking of. They're just not. Yeah, they're almost like anti-development, and that's understandable. The Gulf Islands are it's a wonderful environment, and you don't want to sully it with overdeveloping the area. Yeah, and I guess we just had folks who had private land and a very tastefully built building that was, nowhere near the ocean, and just the Islands Trust kind of almost uh, like just throwing roadblock after roadblock without always necessarily explaining their position or helping us uh, find out what it is that they were after, so we could meet their requirements. To me, it's, if your regulations and your requirements are all articulated and stipulated so that you can respond to them, great. Um, but a lot of times, it felt like they were blocking what we were proposing just to be anti-development, and I guess yeah, or at least what's the word? Um, like not really being like not being communicative and being uh, yeah, it was antagonistic. It was an antagonistic process, and I am not a fan of an antagonistic process. To me, if you've got a chip on your shoulder about what's going on, um, don't do that. And we've worked with other folks in municipalities who are like, hey, you know what? This is a sensitive area. Um, we just really don't want any development in here, or if it is, it's going to be minor. But yet, in these places, these are places where there were existing houses that were there. They were old, and so we're talking about taking an old 500-foot shack and replacing it with maybe a two-story, um, maybe 1,200 square foot footprint, two-story cottage, so that a couple could retire. So this is no monster house scenario. You're looking at still a relatively modest proposal with all the environmental requirements in place, setbacks from water courses and proper design of septic fields and all that stuff. So yeah, so I was working in an architectural firm in Comox, and that was right on the wharf. There's a pub right above us, so lunches were awesome. Yeah, it was great. So our first two kids were born in Comox and Courtney, and then I guess around the year 2000, the economy absolutely tanked over on the island, and we ended up coming back to the Lower Mainland. I graduated in North Vancouver, and so we knew everybody back there, so it wasn't that big a deal. But we certainly liked the island more. It was just a nice pace. Yeah. Well, coming from Calgary too. Yeah. I grew up in small town Saskatchewan, and there wasn't one of us who wasn't looking forward, excuse me, to getting out of town and like moving to Calgary. Calgary is where everybody wanted to go, and now it's funny, my kids, when we go for a drive into Vancouver and then we get stuck in all the traffic there, they're like, why would anybody want to live here? No, it's like it's vehicular induced claustrophobia. Okay, so good morning, everybody here. I see that a bunch of you are here in the channel already. I'm actually streaming on YouTube for the rest of the day here just for the video because everything else is crap. So, um, still going to use Discord for audio, um, but go onto the ADT1 channel, or is it the general channel? And you'll see the link to my YouTube channel. So yeah, I see a few of you are already picking up on that. So yeah, the quality's pretty good. Oh, can't hear you, sir. Who's talking there? Oh yeah, Parker. Here, I just got to crank up your volume. It's like super low. Okay, fire away. Totally. Yeah, exactly. Because like I'm using my iPhone as the camera, and it can shoot a lot higher than well, a fair amount higher than 1080p. So yeah, I have an app called IV Cam, which allows me to connect my iPhone to my computer and use it as a webcam. So usually your mobile phone camera is a lot better quality than your webcam, so it actually works pretty good. Yeah, I guess that's true, right? Yeah, because this the stream will be saved. I'll stick it in a playlist on YouTube. The only downside to this is that any of you who've ever done YouTube streaming, they have this secure key that you use, and it's a bunch of random digits. And I've discovered that every time I want to stream, I have to go and check the key and copy and paste the new key from YouTube into Open Broadcasting Studio, which is what I use to stream from the laptop. So it's just kind of a drag because every time I got to go to YouTube, copy the key, and then go back and paste it into OBS, and then away we go. So anyway, I've tried that and I just haven't had any luck. Now I guess I'll have to kick that can again. Yeah, no, thanks. That's a good it's a good thing to try and check out. All right, so I've pretty much finished. Well, I've got to put one more. I'm going to put a window at the foyer and a window at the bedroom. You folks who are watching, there's about a 15-second delay between the video and my audio. So when I say I'm adding those two windows, you folks will see that stuff 15 seconds later. So that's the only downside of this, is that even with the low latency mode chosen for the YouTube stream, it's still 15 seconds. So whatever. Okay, so a lot of you have probably already finished your plan, so I'm just going to get into it here. So for doing the elevation, you've got two choices here. So drafting firms back in the day, what they would do is they would take their floor plan and they'd move it downwards on the sheet, and then they'd put their elevation sheet on top, and then they would project their lines upwards. So for today, as we're working on the elevations, so what I would need to do then is I would need to, I would take my plan work and just move it downwards on the page so that I've got room to draw my elevations. So here I'm just going to release the plan. I'm just going to check the stream here for how much you folks are seeing. Okay, I'm going to zoom out here. Okay, so I'll just get the plan so it's still visible in the camera view, and I will fix it back down again. Okay, so for doing my south elevation, the south wall is looking downwards on the sheet, because really what we're talking about is having the viewer looking at that wall. So I'm set up to do my south elevation. Now, if I was going to be doing my north elevation, I would need to take off my plan sheet and rotate it 180 degrees. So here I'll get myself set up so I can do my north elevation. So I'm just going to rotate my plan 180 degrees. Make sure you guys can still see it in the view there. And I don't have to tape it down too securely because I'm going to be putting my elevation sheet on top of it. So now what I will do is bring my ruler up and make sure that I've got my page lined up here. And now I'll tape down my elevation sheet. Oh, shoot. Okay, so now I'm getting ready here to draw up the north elevation. So I've got the wall of the north elevation facing towards the bottom of the sheet. And now, just like we were talking yesterday, we're going to do the lines to project all this upwards. Now, you might actually be able to get all of your elevations on one sheet. There's probably enough room. So if you were to put your elevations sort of over to one side here, so actually you don't need to line the pages up horizontally, right? So if I want to try and get myself a little bit more, well, actually I should just leave this one in place and move the plan. Right. Yes. Yep. Exactly. Yep. Perfect. So there you go. You can see the tape's just kind of taping one thing to another here. And if you're using that green tape, you should be okay with removing that tape when the drawing's done so that you can take your pictures. So does anybody need me to go over again just drawing the projection lines up? Maybe one thing I will mention is we are going to be doing the ground line here underneath our work. So let me draw a few projection lines up here just so I can talk about the ground line. I was using my HB pencil there. Don't want to do that. Just want to use the harder lead for getting these projection lines drawn up. Okay, so yes, leaving some room for the title block at the bottom. And now here, just going to block out the 8'6" height. So there's 0, now wrong side of the ruler here. So we're going to draw a ground line for our elevations here. That ground line needs to be 8 inches below the bottom of the container. So 8 inches below. Now this is actually kind of a bit of a magical number because as we're going to learn later on in the building code course, that's what the building code asks for your framed walls, that 8-inch separation between the beginning of your wall framing and the ground. And that, of course, is just to protect your framing from water, from rotting. So once you're done, so there's where my ground line is going to be. So there's my bottom of the steel container. There's the top. So this thing is sitting 8 inches above the ground. So once this is done, that 8-inch gap, that's going to be concrete. So there's going to be concrete walls or a concrete slab that this container will sit on. And in fact, you could even make it so that the concrete sits backwards a little bit, say by 3 inches. And then the container can just kind of sit. And we call this little recess around the sides, it's called a reveal. So what we'll be doing, of course, with this course is we'll be talking to you folks about the architectural lingo, and every cult has its special words. So we'll have a ground line, and then you can have the concrete line there at the edge of the container right out to the face of the container, or here I'm just going to set it back a little bit. So I'm taking my ground line here. I just want to show you that this is going to be a real nice heavy line that projects beyond the edge of the container by at least a couple of feet on both sides. So there you go, nice heavy ground line. Now, in the assignment, it specifies that the windows are to have a 1-foot radius. And so I'm just going to draw one of those up. Now, fortunately, we don't have to draw any construction lines for drawing the radii. We've just got to, well, we do actually. Well, we've got to find the right point for drawing those the curves. Okay, so that's the layout aspect here. So I'm going to zoom in again so we can look really close at the at drawing those window radii. Oh, good. It is visible. All right. Okay. So for doing these, the 1 foot radii at the corners, I will draw some construction lines here real quickly. So 1 foot offsets at each corner, and then I'll just very lightly fade in some those lines there. So where these lines intersect, that's where I'm going to draw the radii for the window. Okay. So this is probably the most finicky of the hand drafting that you will do, at least from an architectural perspective. So those construction lines are nice in that they will help you see where the tangents are for starting and stopping the curve. So again, you're going to need to be super, super careful about getting the point of your compass. Oh, see there, I didn't have it in deep enough. So as you're drawing these curves, your compass isn't going to pop out. And when your compass pops out, it invariably messes up the radius that you're trying to draw with the compass too. So you don't have to make these lines super super dark, because elevation lines are sort of that medium line weight. So the ground line is a heavy line weight, kind of similar to your walls. So remember, your walls are being cut through, so we expect to see those lines in a nice heavy line. And we use that same kind of heavy line weight for the ground line here in our elevations. But the lines of the walls in our elevations, they're being shown not cut through, but we would say in projection. We're projecting the lines of our walls onto the sheet. These are going to be medium line weights. So now the moment of truth is, will my arcs line up? It's not too bad. Okay, so that's basically how your windows are going to work. So I will just get the sort of the right line weight here for the edges of our container. All right, there we go. Now, this project, this drafting project will be due at the end of the day. I will let you guys continue just to draw away here. Now, some of you have, if you've already wrapped things up and you're good for uploading, that's great. I am going to go make some coffee, and I will come back here at 9:15 to carry on. So we're going to talk about the different sizes of paper that are used for drafting purposes, whether it's hand or outputted printing from CAD or BIM. So we'll get up to speed on that. And then we're going to start working our way into the next section of our drafting, which is a little bit more technical. Yes, yeah. So 9:30, I'll come back and we'll get at it.